There may be no honor among thieves, but there are some ground rules. Among them, don't steal what you can't turn around and sell. A gang of burglars from Pennsylvania learned this the hard way. Over the course of 2 decades, they snuck and smashed their way into a string of hallowed sports venues and small museums throughout the United States, making off with championship rings, jewel-studded belts, and dozens of trophies. But they couldn't fence their loot on the shadowy sports memorabilia market without catching too much attention. So what do you do once you've lifted Yogi Berra's World Series rings? Tonight, the theft rings mastermind, having come clean to the authorities and served some time, gives up the game to 60 Minutes.
The story will continue in a moment.
So you like it here?
Here he is, perhaps not the guy you'd cast as the lead in a heist movie. Tommy Trotta on a family pilgrimage to the Baseball Hall of Fame. But he wasn't just making memories that day, he was running reconnaissance.
I would walk in these places and I would try to have either my niece or nephew. So I would kind of guide them over if I wanted to see a door or window, and then I would kind of film how far do I have to run after I get through this door.
You're bringing the kids like you're
Bringing the
like
kids.
you're
I'm like,
tourists.
come on, let's go over here. And then boom, get it on film, but not filming them. No, I want that window. I want that door.
Pick on them, ring.
Much like an athlete, he'd prepare for the job by spending hours watching tape. In his case, his own shaky footage of potential targets and the closest exit.
Needless to say, they do not suspect you are casing the joint and
Not
doing
in
your
a million
surveillance.
years. I have a dorky look to me. I notice I don't look like a criminal at all.
He sure acted like one. Here he is in 2012. After smashing through a window and into the U.S. Golf Museum in New Jersey, he made off with the great Ben Hogan's trophies. Middle of the night, unarmed. It was the MO Trotta would replicate scores of times, confounding investigators for a quarter century.
Certain fans really don't like me.
Now 48, Trotta grew up outside Scranton. A sports fan, baseball in particular. His grandparents took him to Yankees games. He also grew up a thief. He says he still believed in Santa when he began stealing. Values, he says, he got from his late father.
Our first salmon trip, for example, and my dad's he's from Jersey, not so much of a fisherman, right? And everyone's catching fish around us except us. So we decide we sneak up to the hatchery at night. So 3 o'clock in the morning, here we are with just nets and scooping them right out of because all the salmon are coming up.
That's one way to catch fish.
Stole a bunch of salmon, yeah.
Later on, he ran with a crew of neighborhood friends who, in time, would become his alleged accomplices. He says they went from robbing payphones to burglarizing homes. Theft became his full-time job. Marrying his two passions, Trotta pulled his first sports heist in 1999.
The master pitcher of all time.
An exhibit devoted to Hall of Fame pitcher Christy Mathewson, winner of 373 games, went on display at a nearby college. It featured a jersey commemorating the 1905 World Series. The woman running the display allowed visitors, including Trotta, to get up close.
So she opens up this little glass case, slides it, takes the jersey out, hands it to me. I'm holding the jersey. Right away, my head's spinning. So I'm thinking who I'm going to call and who's going to help me with this, because it was only going to be on display for one day.
So it's spinning not because you're in awe of this. It's spinning because you're thinking,
There's no time.
why'd you take the jersey?
That's a good question, John. To have it, to try to sell it one day, of course, it's priceless.
What do you think you could have gotten for it?
For how much attention on it, it was a real tough sell. Even at 10% would have been probably over 100,000. Just for somebody to look at and maybe wear, which I did wear it. I had it on.
You had it on.
Yeah, I wanted to see, I heard he was a big guy, Christy Mathewson. The fact that he wore it during the game, I got a kick. I'm a big fan, I'm a fanatical baseball fan.
And strikes him out. Don Lawson has pitched the first World Series no-hitter.
What kind of a fan, a self-professed Yankees fan no less, would target Yogi Berra? The star catcher won a record 10 World Series rings. When he wasn't posing, Yogi wore one and kept the other 9 here, at his museum and learning center in Little Falls, New Jersey. That is until a rainy October night in 2014. Trotta had been planning the job for months.
Now, the Yogi Berra cases were something special. It was a special kind of bulletproof glass that was never going to shatter. So that's the one we used. I had that grinder with the rescue blade, and I actually cut the cases open, reached and grabbed the rings, Went to the other case, Pyramid cut the to get the two MVP plaques out also.
Alarm blaring, police were already on their way as Trotta ran across this field to meet his getaway driver.
We were a second away from getting caught. Get back to the house, laid the rings out. I wanted to try them on.
Did you?
I tried them all on. I just put them on just to see, and then the next thing that we did, we start with to dismantle them.
What did you do with the rings?
Cut them, melted them.
You heard right. Trotta and crew retreated to this rural Pennsylvania garage to melt down Yogi Berra's rings. He says they melted down much of their loot, the stuff that was too hot to sell, and brought the gold and gemstones to Manhattan's Diamond District, where a dealer paid the gang in cash, no questions asked. For all that priceless Yogi Berra memorabilia, Trotta says they got $12,000.
This is the museum. This is Grandpa Yogi.
A journalist by trade, Lindsay Berra has devoted her life to preserving the legacy of her beloved grandfather, who died less than a year after the break-in. The case went cold for years. Meanwhile, the Yankees replaced the stolen rings. Eventually, she came to learn what had become of the originals.
I just burst into tears. It was just so incomprehensible to me that that was the upshot of this whole thing.
That these rings
no
longer existed.
That they'd been destroyed. It just made absolutely no sense to me. It still makes absolutely no sense to me, and I don't think it will ever make any sense to me.
U.S. attorneys value these objects more than $1 million, and you find out these have been melted down for about $12,000.
Yeah, it's baffling. And you go through all of this trouble to plan for months, and then you sell the stuff that you steal for pennies compared to what it's actually worth. And not to mention the fact that you're destroying historical artifacts with significance so much beyond the gold and diamonds that they're made of. And it's callous and disrespectful and dumb.
Hard to argue. Sports memorabilia may be a $25 billion market, but demand dries up fast when the objects are so obviously stolen.
What's the business model here?
A quick $12,000. As bad as that sounds, I didn't look at it like rings. It was money. It was cash.
So you say you're doing this for the money, but it sounds like in some of these cases, it wasn't about the money. It was something
just
deeper.
to touch history, a lot of times.
So I'm trying to reconcile. You clearly appreciate the history, but then
I'm melting stuff down. That was the lifestyle. This warped way of thinking, it was just normal for us.
These are Yogi Berra's World Series rings.
Believe me, that job still, and all the jobs were historical significance and the importance of these items, but that one bothered me out of most of them.
That's saying something. In 2016, he drove to the Roger Maris Museum in North Dakota and stole the Yankee Slugger's MVP plaque. He never did hit Cooperstown, but 70 miles away at the Boxing Hall of Fame, he lifted the belts of middleweight champ Carmen Basilio. At the Harness Racing Museum in Goshen, New York, he took 14 trophies. But as it turned out, Trotta's biggest job didn't involve sports at all. It was set in his backyard and came with unlikely entree into the art world.
It really is a fortress. But they had kind of Achilles' heel in the back of the museum. They had two glass doors.
Scranton's Everhart Museum houses taxidermy and folk art along with dozens of paintings. In 2005, it had two main attractions, Andy Warhol's Le Grand Passion and Spring's Winter by Jackson Pollock.
Get into the museum pitch black.
You know this place.
Know the place so good, and open the door. To the right was the Pollock and the Warhol. Basically blindfolded, I'm doing this. Take them off the wall, run down the stairs, out the door, toss them in the back of the truck, get in, tell them guys to go, and off we go.
How did you know what two paintings to take?
Warhol's big, it's a big name. Pollock is especially big. I mean, I've seen the Pollock movie.
Did you realize the painting's value when you took it?
No, I thought hundreds of thousands.
Try millions, but it was the same old story for this bunch. They didn't have a buyer lined up, and it's hard to move prized artwork after a publicized theft. So Trotta says he and his crew hid the art, along with the Christy Mathewson jersey, items they couldn't melt, at a home belonging to two of the alleged accomplices.
When was the last time you saw this Jackson Pollock?
Last time I seen a Pollock, 2017. 2018. It was in a house in Union, New Jersey.
So off we went to that house in Union, New Jersey. No answer at the door, no sign of the stolen art. Still, when the ringleader gives directions to what he claims was a stash house, you know the plot is unraveling for the great American sports museum thieves. How'd they get caught? You know how it goes. The gang went bush league, got sloppy. Here's 2016 surveillance video of Trotta using a snowplow to rip an ATM from a local grocery store. When Trotta was pulled over for driving erratically 2 years later, police found his trunk filled with crime gear, including gloves matched to that ATM job.
30 years of secrecy, of stealth, and all of a sudden,
It's all down.
what's that like for you?
When it's over, you know?
Yes, he steals Yogi Berra's rings and mangles Yogi Berra's quotes. Trotta was taken into custody. Police began matching him to a string of home burglaries. Inside a county jail, he made a deal. In exchange for reducing a sentence that could have spanned decades, Trotta would lay out for investigators all those unsolved museum heists. He also gave up his longtime crew, the lookouts, getaway drivers, and gold melters. The ringleader turned chief government witness.
Good morning.
Last summer, federal and state authorities announced a sweeping indictment.
21 separate burglaries spanning more than 20 years across 4 states.
8 of Trotta's alleged accomplices were charged with conspiracy to commit theft of major artwork. 4 have pleaded guilty, the other 4 pleaded not guilty, and will face trial this year. The indictment details, sadly, the melting of Yogi Berra's rings. It doesn't say what happened to the missing loot like the Mathewson jersey, the Warhol, the Pollock. Investigators declined our request for comments, citing the pending trials. We put the question to Trotta, and inasmuch as a career thief can be believed,
You have any idea where it is?
No, right now, no. I don't think it's destroyed. Nobody would be that stupid. It's probably going to pop up one day.
Tommy Trotta finished serving his state sentence of more than 4 years last June. He's still working nights, but now at a warehouse. He's awaiting sentencing on a federal charge of theft of major artwork.
How we justified it is, hey, nobody's getting hurt. But I never looked at it like sitting in jail 51 months. Emotionally, I destroyed people. I know this now.
Fair sentence?
I do regret hurting everybody I stole anything from. The Yogi Berra family, everything he accomplished in life, he didn't need someone like me to do what I did. But it can't take away what he did. He's the hero. I'm not.
Do you think Yogi would forgive him?
I mean, I kind of do. Grandpa was such that if you owned up to your mistakes and you showed remorse, he would certainly forgive you. And I suppose I could do that, but I'm still mad that the stuff is gone.
A lesson in forgiveness from the Yogi Steinbrenner feud
And it took 14 years.
at 60minutesovertime.com. Sponsored by Nurtec ODT.